What's up guys, Houndish here with some Destiny 2 news stuff to talk about. I wanted to take a quick look at some stuff that popped up in the PC beta, including character auras, some loot chests, and a look at what appears to be the Leviathan ship in-game. On top of this, there are some new audio lines which have been data mined from the PC beta. A couple of things I wanted to talk about there. There will be a couple of spoilers potentially, so I'll warn you before I get to that. So firstly, in the PC beta, there are a couple of interesting items to take note of. Firstly, there's a new section which has been added to the character screen called Auras, which allow visual effects awarded on completion of challenging activities. So these sound potentially somewhat like the kind of Nightfall blue flames that we had in Destiny 1, but obviously it says challenging activities, so we can assume there will be multiple different ones, perhaps for things like Trials of Osiris, raids, and Nightfalls. But these are actually now things that you can unlock and change on your character. We're not entirely certain what these visual effects will be, but it's pretty exciting. We have seen a bunch of kind of spawn animations that are coming in Destiny 2 through some of the recent gameplay, and it turns out that your ship will actually have a part to play in this. So if we look at the ship right here in the PC beta, it has a random mod, and if we take a look right here, it's called Default Effect. Use default transmat effects when arriving in a location or reviving. So it appears that this will actually be kind of linked to your ship, and there'll be different ones we can unlock. Of course, this one right here is just the default spawn effect. It does actually allow you to apply it in game, but I don't believe it actually changes anything. I loaded straight into the inverted spire strike after this, and I'm pretty sure it's just the same animation as if you don't even have this activated, but obviously in the full game, we'll be able to get different respawn animations. Another thing to point out in the PC beta right now is the storm minotaurs around the beginning of the strike on Nessus are actually dropping their loot chests. So sometimes when they drop them, it'll say an enemy has dropped their plunder, but basically they're dropping a chest when they die, and you can kind of hold the button to collect the loot, although nothing actually drops out of the chest in the beta version. This could, however, hint towards a possible secret with the teleporters on Nessus, and we'll have to find out later down the road. Moving on, I wanted to point something out that was actually posted to Reddit, which is pretty interesting. And this is a post by Zon Viznier. I think that's how you say your name. That was a pretty awful attempt at pronouncing it. But if we take a look at these images right here, inside of the skybox on Nessus, there is something very, very interesting, which appears if you actually head to the big round building near the start of the strike, the one that people glitched into in the console beta. And from certain angles, you can see this in the skybox. And there are a couple more images right here, which aren't super clear, but I actually have another image of this, which I'm not sure who posted this image. This was shared to me on Twitter, and it appears that what we're seeing here is actually the Leviathan ship that we also saw in the concept art. You can see that it has the same shape on the front of the vehicle right there, with this kind of huge mouth almost, and then above it you have obviously the two suns, or the two kind of glowing objects. I'm not entirely sure what one of them is. One of them is definitely a sun, but you can see that this is indeed what we see in the concept art. So obviously the implications of this aren't entirely clear, but it appears that this thing is actually on Nessus. But I just wanted to point out that you can actually spot this in-game inside of the PC beta in the skybox for Nessus, so I'd be curious to hear what you guys think this means. Moving on, there have been a whole bunch of kind of leaked and data mined audio files from inside of the PC files for the game, and there is a ton of really interesting stuff right here. Obviously some of this is pretty spoiler heavy. I will leave the links to where you can actually go and listen to these audio files in the description below, but it appears that we'll be having a new Cryptarch in Destiny 2. So there's a voice line here from a character. We don't know exactly who it is, but it says, "I work for Cryptarch Babrius on her new metalogics." So I'm not sure where Cryptarch Babrius will be housed, which social space or what's going on with that, but it appears that there will be some kind of new Cryptarch, or at least a character coming in Destiny 2. There is also a voice line which refers to Master Raoul, so it appears that Master Raoul will indeed be in Destiny 2, or will be a character somewhere in the story. We have a voice line that gives us a little hint about the 9 and potentially Trials of the 9 right here, and this is actually a female voice for a new character, and this sounds like a voice line for PvP matches. So it says the objective is yours and the 9 watch you with interest. So this sounds like it could be a line for Trials of the 9. There are other kind of links to audio in here which kind of suggest what the game mode may be, but you guys can check that out in the links below. There is also a voice line from an unknown character that says, "But what if Oryx is still alive?" Now, I'm not going to speculate too much on what that means. Of course, we know the Taken are still present in Destiny 2, so there could be a bit of an explanation there. It could just be a question in dialogue that actually has no bearing on what's going to happen in the game, of course. Also, on the subject of Oryx, someone actually pulled a bunch of the soundtrack from the game files, and there is the soundtrack for the Dreadnought inside of the files for Destiny 2. It is absolutely identical to the music that you'd hear on Patrol in the Dreadnought, so again, that's very, very interesting. Could be linked to Oryx in some way. It could just be in the game files. It could be for use in a completely, new location for a completely different reason. But something else worth mentioning, there are some voice lines about flight simulation and flight training, which is pretty interesting. So it looks like there's a possibility that we'll get to do some kind of flight training in a mission or something like that with ships. Of course, ship flight itself has been confirmed not to be in the game, or at least not to be kind of a thing that you can do in the full game. So all of these audio lines are completely legitimate. They're straight out of the Destiny 2 files, and there's some really interesting stuff. But like I said, I don't want to overly speculate or kind of spoil anything. If you guys want to check that stuff out, you can scour Reddit for it. But if you don't want any spoilers, I really recommend that you don't do that. So that's going to sum up the kind of bulk of this video, guys. There was a new trailer released for Destiny 2 yesterday, which is basically designed to explain what Destiny is, particularly for new players, but it's definitely worth watching. Some pretty cool little scenes in there. So I'm going to run that trailer right now at the end of this video. But if you have enjoyed it, guys, a like and comment below is very much appreciated. If you want to save 10% on Control Freak products, you know what I'm going to say. Follow the link in the description or use code Houndish and you can save a few bucks on anything in the Control Freak store. For now though, I appreciate you all watching as always, and whatever you do, have an awesome day.
Explain. I am gone. I got this.
Enter the Crucible to dominate. If we wait, we die.
Anyone want a hug? Hugs? No? No hugs.
Destiny 2, available September 6th.